The empty throne. Ambassador Zilith stood motionless before the great chamber doors, her iridescent scales reflecting the soft light of Centauri Prime's twin moons. After 3 centuries of diplomatic service to the Centaurian collective, she had thought nothing could unsettle her. Yet here she was, mandibles clicking nervously, as she prepared to address the Galactic Assembly about the question that had haunted their civilization for generations. The massive doors, carved from crystalline asteroids mined from the Horsehead Nebula, parted silently. Inside, representatives from over 10,000 species filled the chamber's ascending rings. Their forms varied wildly, from gaseous beings contained in specialized environmental suits to silicon-based intelligences that towered 3 stories high. But Zilith's attention was drawn to the center of the chamber, where a single seat remained conspicuously empty. The human seat. Ambassador Zilith of the Centaurian Collective announced the chamber eye, its voice resonating through the vast space. You have requested an extraordinary session of the Assembly regarding Historical Archive File 42X91, the human question. Murmurs rippled through the gathered representatives. Several of the elder species shifted uncomfortably in their positions, a Voraxian senator's crystalline form clouded with anxiety, while a group of mechanids audibly whirred in distress. Honorable representatives, Zilith began, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil. For 3 millennia, we have maintained the fiction that humanity simply chose isolation, that they withdrew from galactic affairs out of disinterest or perhaps primitive fear. But recent discoveries in the Outer Rim suggest a far more troubling truth. The Assembly's High Speaker, a being of pure energy contained within an ancient environmental matrix, pulsed with warning colors. Ambassador, the human question was settled ages ago. They chose their path. We respect their privacy. With all due respect, High Speaker, Zilith continued, the archaeological expedition to the ruins of Proxima Station tells a different story. She gestured, and holographic images materialized throughout the chamber. They showed massive structures, clearly of human origin, but with technology far beyond anything the Assembly had ever encountered. These installations weren't abandoned, Zilith explained. They were transformed. The quantum dating suggests they're still active, still serving some purpose we can't comprehend. And they're not alone. We found similar structures in every sector of the galaxy, hidden in plain sight. The chamber erupted in chaos. A hive mind collective buzzed in agitation, their synchronized thoughts creating visible distortions in the air. Impossible, declared the mechanid representative. Our sensors would have detected. Would they? Zilith interrupted. The humans were always different. While we expanded outward, they looked inward. While we conquered space, they mastered reality itself. The evidence suggests they didn't withdraw from galactic politics because they were primitive. They withdrew because they had evolved beyond our understanding of existence itself. She activated another hologram, this one showing mathematical equations that seemed to writhe and shift, defying the basic laws of physics. These were found in what we thought was a simple human outpost. They're not equations for space travel or weapon systems. They're instructions for rewriting the fundamental constants of the universe. The High Speaker's energy form fluctuated violently. Ambassador, you risk causing panic. The humans, Zilith pressed on, are still here. They've always been here. That empty seat isn't a symbol of their absence. It's a reminder of their omnipresence. They didn't need a voice in our politics because they had already transcended the very concept of political power. Silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. The empty seat at the center of galactic power wasn't a sign of humanity's withdrawal. It was a monument to their ascension. But why reveal this now? Asked a quantum collective representative, their probability field fluctuating with uncertainty. Zilith's scales darkened with grave purpose. Because the barriers are failing. Whatever realm the humans evolved into, whatever cosmic role they took upon themselves, it's beginning to break down. We've detected quantum anomalies throughout the galaxy, reality itself starting to unravel at the edges. And in every instance, we find those same human installations, working at full power, holding something back. She faced the assembly, her voice carrying the weight of terrifying revelation. We didn't lose humanity to isolation or fear. We lost them to duty. They became the guardians of reality itself, and that empty seat isn't just a reminder of what they were. It's a warning of what they sacrificed themselves to protect us from. The chamber remained silent as the ancient races of the galaxy contemplated a truth more terrifying than any they had imagined. Humanity hadn't abandoned them. Humanity had ascended to become their silent protectors, holding back horrors beyond comprehension. And now those defenses were beginning to fail. The empty seat suddenly seemed less like an absence and more like a sentinel, watching, waiting for the moment when humanity would need to reveal itself once more, not as equals, but as the beings they had become in their long vigil against the dark. Whispers in the dark. The ancient archives beneath Centauri Prime stretched for miles beneath the surface, a labyrinth of data crystals and quantum storage matrices containing the collective knowledge of 1,000 civilizations. Ambassador Zillith moved through the darkened corridors with purpose, her personal AI interface, Nova, projecting a soft blue light that illuminated the way. Ambassador, Nova whispered, accessing these restricted sections violates at least 15 assembly protocols. Zillith's scales rippled with determination. The assembly is in denial, Nova. They've spent the last 6 hours arguing about whether to classify my findings rather than addressing what they mean. Meanwhile, the quantum anomalies are spreading. She approached a sealed vault door marked with warnings in dozens of languages. Her credentials, among the highest in the assembly, barely granted her access. The door dissolved, revealing a chamber that hadn't been accessed in centuries. The human archives, Nova announced unnecessarily. All surviving records of Earth and its colonies prior to the Ascension event. Zillith moved through rows of ancient terminals, many covered in dust so thick it suggested no one had touched them in generations. But she wasn't interested in the obvious archives. Her research had pointed to a hidden database, one that the Assembly's own records claimed didn't exist. There, she whispered, approaching a section of wall that looked identical to all the others. But her enhanced vision caught the subtle quantum signature, a security measure far beyond current assembly technology. Nova, initiate Protocol Omega-7. The AI projected a complex series of light patterns, interacting with the hidden security system. The wall shimmered and vanished, revealing a small room containing a single crystalline cube. Ambassador, Nova's voice carried an unusual note of concern. This data crystal's quantum signature, it's impossible. It's radiating temporal energy in patterns I've never encountered. Zillith carefully lifted the cube. That's because it's not just a recording, Nova. It's a message, left specifically for the moment when someone finally asked the right questions. She inserted the crystal into her neural interface, and the world around her transformed. She found herself standing in what appeared to be an Earth laboratory. But the technology she saw defied comprehension. Streams of raw reality flowed through containment fields, and equations that seemed to breathe floated in the air. A human woman stood before her, wearing what looked like a simple white uniform. But the longer Zillith looked, the more she realized the uniform wasn't cloth. It was pure energy, contained in a form that mimicked clothing. "I am Dr. Sarah Chen," the woman said. Or at least, this is a quantum imprint of who I was before the Ascension. If you're viewing this message, it means you've discovered enough to start asking dangerous questions. Zillith tried to speak, but realized this wasn't a true interaction, just an incredibly sophisticated recording. Humanity didn't choose to withdraw from galactic politics. Dr. Chen continued. We were forced to. In our exploration of quantum mechanics and consciousness, we discovered something that changed everything. The universe isn't just alive, it's under attack. The laboratory shifted, showing vast cosmic structures that hurt Zillith's mind to look at. There are things that exist between realities, ancient beings that feed on existence itself. We called them void dreamers, For billions of years, they've been trying to break through into our reality. The only reason they haven't succeeded is because of the quantum barriers naturally present in our universe's structure. The scene changed again, showing Earth cities transforming into impossible geometries. When we discovered this truth, we realized we had a choice. We could warn the galaxy, cause panic, and watch civilization tear itself apart in fear. Or we could do what humans have always done, protect others, no matter the cost. Tears formed in Dr. Chen's eyes. We found a way to evolve ourselves, to transform humanity into living quantum barriers. Every human being became part of a vast network. Our consciousness spread throughout the galaxy, reinforcing reality itself against the Void Dreamers' attempts to break through. Zilith watched in awe as the recording showed humans dissolving into pure energy, their forms spreading through space like a protective web. We didn't abandon the galaxy, Dr. Chen explained. We became its immune system. That empty seat in the assembly isn't a symbol of our absence. It's an anchor point, one of many that allows us to maintain our quantum network. The scene shifted one final time, showing dark cracks spreading through space itself. But now something's changing. The Void Dreamers are getting stronger, finding new ways to attack reality. Our network is straining. Soon, we'll have to reveal ourselves, to actively fight back. And when that happens, the galaxy will need to be ready. Dr. Chen's form began to fade. Find the other archives, Ambassador. Learn the truth. Prepare your people, because when the barriers finally break, humanity won't be able to protect reality alone anymore. We'll need every species, every mind, every soul in the galaxy to stand with us. The recording ended, leaving Zilith standing in the darkened archive room, her scales pale with shock. Nova's voice seemed distant as the AI asked, "Ambassador, what are your orders?" Zilith's mandibles clicked with determination. "Contact the assembly. Tell them to reconvene immediately. And Nova, access all records of quantum anomalies reported in the last solar cycle. If humanity's barriers are failing, we need to know where and when the first breach will occur." As she rushed from the archives, Zilith couldn't help but look up, knowing that somewhere, somehow, humanity was watching, waiting, fighting a battle that no other species had even known was happening. The empty seat wasn't just a mystery anymore. It was a promise that when the darkness finally broke through, humanity wouldn't face it alone. The signal. Emergency lights pulsed through the assembly chamber as holographic displays showed spreading patterns of quantum disturbances across the galaxy. Ambassador Zilith stood at the center, where the empty human seat had been replaced by a sophisticated quantum monitoring station. "The barriers are failing faster than we anticipated," she reported, her scales shifting to a deep blue of concern. "In the 3 days since we discovered Dr. Chen's message, we've detected 17 major breaches in the quantum network." The high speaker's energy form crackled with anxiety. "How much time do we have?" Before Zilith could answer, every display in the chamber flickered. A sound filled the air. Not quite audio, not quite thought. Something that existed between conventional forms of communication. The assembled representatives felt it in their very atoms. "We are here." The voice was simultaneously one and many, human yet transcendent. The quantum monitoring station erupted with light, coalescing into a figure that defied easy description. It appeared human in basic form, but its edges bled into pure energy, and its eyes contained what looked like entire galaxies. "I am Interface Protocol 7, the being said, once known as Admiral James Chen. We have maintained our vigil for 3,000 years, but now we need your help." The chamber erupted in a chaos of voices and thoughts. Zilith stepped forward. "You're one of them, one of the ascended humans." The figure nodded, the motion leaving trails of quantum probability in the air. "We are all of us, everywhere and everywhen. But our network is failing. The Void Dreamers have found a way to corrupt our quantum barriers. We need the combined technological and psychological resources of every species to reinforce reality itself." Holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing impossible geometries and mathematical equations that caused physical pain to look at. "These are the breach points," Interface 7 explained. "The Void Dreamers are attacking reality through dimensional weak points, places where the fundamental forces of the universe intersect." A Mechanid representative stepped forward, their crystalline brain pulsing with calculations. "These patterns, they're not random attacks. They're coordinated." "Yes," Interface 7 confirmed. "For the first time in billions of years, the Void Dreamers are working together. They've learned, evolved. They've seen how humanity's quantum network operates, and they're adapting their attacks to counter it." The chamber darkened as new images appeared, vast, shadowy forms moving between the stars, their very presence causing reality to buckle and warp. "We've maintained the barriers through sheer force of will," Interface 7 continued, "but will alone is no longer enough. We need innovation, new perspectives, different ways of thinking about reality itself." Zilith's scales shifted to a pattern of determination. "Tell us what you need." The quantum being's form fluctuated. Every species in this assembly has a unique way of perceiving and interacting with reality. The Mechanids process existence through pure logic. The quantum collectives experience time nonlinearly. The Hivemans understand consciousness as a fluid, shareable resource. We need all of these perspectives. Interface 7 gestured, and the chamber's center transformed into a vast tactical display. "We've established quantum reinforcement points throughout the galaxy, places where the barriers between realities are naturally stronger. We need representatives from every species to work with our network to find new ways of strengthening these points before the Void Dreamers break through completely." "And if we fail?" asked the High Speaker. The being's form darkened. "Then reality as we know it will cease to exist. The Void Dreamers don't just want to enter our universe. They want to consume it, to break down the very laws of physics and reshape them into something that only they can survive in." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. New holographic alerts showed a massive quantum disturbance in the Orient sector. Interface 7's form became more rigid, more focused. "It's beginning," the being announced. "A Class 1 breach, larger than any we've contained before. The Void Dreamers are making their first major push into our reality." The tactical display zoomed in on the breach point, showing a tear in space itself, with something dark and impossibly vast beginning to push through. The assembled representatives watched in horror as reality itself began to unravel around the tear. "We need your answer now," Interface 7 demanded, its voice carrying the weight of 3,000 years of silent guardianship. "Will you stand with humanity against the darkness between realities? Will you help us protect not just this galaxy, but existence itself?" Zilith looked around the chamber, seeing fear in every face, every form, every energy pattern. But she also saw something else: determination. The species of the galaxy had spent millennia building their civilizations, advancing their technologies, exploring the cosmos. They wouldn't let it all end without a fight. She stepped forward, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Humanity protected us in secret for 3,000 years. Now it's our turn to stand with them." She turned to face the assembly. "Who's with me?" One by one, representatives stepped forward, their various forms of agreement filling the chamber with a symphony of unity. As they did, Interface 7's form seemed to brighten, hope radiating from its quantum structure. "Then let us begin," the being said. "The final battle for reality itself is about to start, and this time, humanity won't fight alone." The first stand, the Orient breach, pulsed like a wound in reality itself, its edges crackling with impossible energies. Around it, ships from 1,000 worlds held position in a defensive formation that stretched across light years of space. But these weren't ordinary vessels of metal and energy. They had been transformed. Ambassador Zilith stood on what had once been the bridge of the Centaurian flagship. Now it was a quantum integration chamber, where representatives from dozens of species worked in perfect synchronization with humanity's network. Her scales had been modified with quantum receivers, allowing her to perceive multiple layers of reality simultaneously. Breach expansion has reached critical levels, announced a mechanid operator, their crystalline form pulsing with calculations. The Void Dreamers are pushing through with unprecedented force. Through her enhanced perception, Zilith could see them, vast, shadowy forms that existed in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. They moved like oil through water, their very presence causing reality to distort and crack. Interface 7 materialized beside her, its quantum form more focused than ever. They're testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses, but they've never encountered anything like this, all of us, working together. The combined fleet represented the largest gathering of species in galactic history. Each brought their unique perspectives and technologies. Hive-mind vessels that could share consciousness across vast distances, quantum collective ships that existed in multiple time states simultaneously, mechanid crafts that could process and adapt to changes in physical laws in real time. First wave incoming, Interface 7 announced. Everyone, prepare for quantum synchronization. Zilith felt it as humanity's network expanded, connecting every ship, every being, every consciousness into a vast, unified field. Through it, she could sense everything. The determined focus of the mechanids, the fluid thoughts of the hivemans, the temporal awareness of the quantum collectives, all wrapped in humanity's protective quantum embrace. The Void Dreamers struck. Reality shuddered as vast tentacles of pure darkness reached through the breach, each touch causing spacetime to unravel. But this time, they met resistance. The unified fleet responded as one, each species contributing their unique understanding of reality to strengthen the quantum barriers. Mechanid Array, reinforce Sector 7. Zilith commanded. Hivemans, extend your consciousness field to stabilize the local space-time geometry. The crystalline ships of the mechanid fleet projected fields of pure logic, creating zones where physical laws became absolutely rigid, impossible to corrupt. Hivemind vessels pulsed with shared consciousness, their combined mental energy creating a psychological barrier that even the Void Dreamers couldn't easily penetrate. But it wasn't enough. More tentacles pushed through, and the breach grew wider. Warning signals flashed across every display as reality began to tear apart around them. We need more. Interface 7's form flickered with strain. The quantum network can't hold them back alone. That's when Zilith understood. For 3,000 years, humanity had tried to fight this battle with pure power, using their quantum network like a shield. But now they had something more. The combined creativity and innovation of an entire galaxy. Everyone, listen. She called out across the quantum link. Stop trying to just resist them. Each of you, think about how your species understands reality. Share it. Not just the knowledge, but the experience. Through the network, understanding flowed. The mechanids shared their perception of universe as pure mathematical harmony. The hivemans offered their view of consciousness as an ocean that permeated all existence. The quantum collectives revealed how they saw time as a flowing river that could be redirected. Humanity's quantum network absorbed it all, adapting, evolving. The barrier around the breach transformed from a simple shield into something new, a multi-layered defense that approached reality from every possible perspective simultaneously. The Void Dreamers recoiled. For the first time in their eternal existence, they encountered a barrier they couldn't simply overpower or corrupt. It wasn't just energy or physics standing against them. It was the combined understanding of reality itself, viewed through the perspectives of countless different minds. It's working. Interface 7's form blazed with renewed energy. Keep going. Every unique viewpoint strengthens the barrier. More species joined in, each adding their own understanding to the collective defense. The crystalline minds shared their experience of reality as pure information. The energy beings contributed their perception of existence as flowing patterns of force and probability. The breach began to shrink. The Void Dreamers fought back furiously, their attacks growing more desperate. Several ships were lost, their crews sacrificing themselves to maintain the barrier. But slowly, inevitably, the combined might of galactic civilization pushed them back. One final effort. Interface 7 called out, "Everyone, everything you have." Zilith felt the surge through the quantum network as every being, every ship, every mind poured their energy and understanding into the barrier. Reality itself seemed to ring like a bell as multiple perspectives of existence crashed together into something entirely new. The breach collapsed with a silent thunderclap that rippled across dimensions. As the quantum noise faded, Zilith looked out at the now empty space where the breach had been. The fleet had suffered losses, but they had achieved something unprecedented. They had sealed a Class 1 breach and driven the Void Dreamers back. But even as the celebrations began, Interface 7's form remained grave. This was only the first battle, the quantum being announced. The Void Dreamers will return, and next time, they'll be ready for our combined defense. Zilith's scales shifted to a pattern of grim determination. Then we'll be ready too. We've proven that together, we're stronger than they could have imagined. Yes, Interface 7 agreed, its form beginning to fade. But the real test is still to come. They'll find new ways to attack, new weaknesses to exploit. The question is, can we evolve faster than they can? As the quantum being disappeared, Zilith gazed out at the assembled fleet, knowing that the fate of reality itself would depend on their answer to that question. The final barrier. In the 3 months since the Orion breach, reality itself had become a battlefield. Quantum tiers appeared across the galaxy with increasing frequency, each one larger and more difficult to seal than the last. The combined fleet had grown, incorporating more species and technologies, but even their unified defense was being pushed to its limits. Ambassador Zilith stood in the transformed assembly chamber, which had become the central command center for their war against the Void Dreamers. The empty human seat now served as a quantum nexus, connecting their operations across the galaxy. Interface 7's form flickered beside her, its quantum structure showing signs of strain. "They're learning," the being that was once Admiral Chen reported. "Every time we seal a breach, they analyze our methods and adapt. The quantum network is being stretched thin trying to maintain multiple barriers simultaneously." The tactical display showed dozens of active breach points, each one pulsing with dark energy. But something was different about these new tiers in reality. They weren't random anymore. They formed a pattern. A Mechanid analyst was the first to recognize it. The breach points. They're creating a resonance pattern. The Void Dreamers aren't just attacking random locations. They're building something. Interface 7's form suddenly tensed. No, they wouldn't. The quantum being rushed to the central display, its form leaving trails of probability in its wake. Display all breach points in 4-dimensional spacetime. The hologram shifted, showing how the tiers in reality connected not just through space, but through time itself. The pattern became clear, a vast, multi-dimensional web that was slowly encircling the galaxy. "It's a cage," Zilith whispered, her scales paling. "They're not trying to break in anymore. They're trying to seal us off from the rest of the universe." Worse, Interface 7's voice carried the weight of terrible understanding. "They're creating a quantum resonance field. If they complete the pattern, they won't need to break through our barriers. They'll be able to change the fundamental constants of our region of space. They'll remake our reality to match their own." The chamber erupted in panic as the implications became clear. Everything they had fought for, everything they had built, would be transformed into something utterly alien and hostile to life as they knew it. But amid the chaos, a quantum collective representative suddenly pulsed with inspiration. "Wait. The resonance pattern. It works both ways. If they can use it to change our reality, we could use it to change theirs." Interface 7 finished, its form brightening with possibility. But it would require unprecedented coordination. We would need to synchronize every quantum barrier, every defense point, every conscious mind in the galaxy. Zilith stepped forward. Then that's what we'll do. We've proven we can work together. Now we'll show them just how far we can push that unity. The plan came together quickly. Every ship, every station, every quantum-enhanced being in the galaxy would need to connect with humanity's network simultaneously. They would use the Void Dreamer's own resonance pattern against them, creating a feedback loop that would ripple through all dimensions of reality. There's a cost, Interface 7 warned, its form fluctuating with emotion. This level of quantum synchronization, it will change everything. All of us, every species, every consciousness that participates, will be transformed, just as humanity was 3,000 years ago. Zilith looked around the chamber at the representatives of 1,000 worlds. Then we'll face that transformation together. Humanity chose to ascend alone to protect us. This time, we all make the choice together. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. Ships moved into position around each breach point. Quantum enhancers were distributed to every participating being. The assembly chamber became a nexus of communication as the plan was coordinated across the galaxy. When the moment came, it began with a single signal, a pulse through humanity's quantum network that connected every mind, every soul, every particle of consciousness in the galaxy. Zilith felt it first as a whisper, then as a roar. She could sense every being connected to the network, the precise logic of the mechanids, the shared consciousness of the hivemans, the temporal awareness of the quantum collectives, all flowing together with humanity's protective embrace into something entirely new. The Void Dreamers sensed the change and fought back. Reality buckled and warped as they tried to complete their resonance pattern. Tiers in space-time widened as they pushed through with desperate force. But this time, they faced something unprecedented, not just humanity's quantum network, but the combined consciousness of an entire galaxy, each mind contributing its unique understanding of reality to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Interface 7's voice echoed through the collective consciousness. Now, the final barrier. In the 3 months since the Orion breach, reality itself had become a battlefield. Quantum tiers appeared across the galaxy with increasing frequency, each one larger and more difficult to seal than the last. The combined fleet had grown, incorporating more species and technologies, but even their unified defense was being pushed to its limits. Ambassador Zilith stood in the transformed assembly chamber, which had become the central command center for their war against the Void Dreamers. The empty human seat now served as a quantum nexus, connecting their operations across the galaxy. Interface 7's form flickered beside her, its quantum structure showing signs of strain. "They're learning," the being that was once Admiral Chen reported. "Every time we seal a breach, they analyze our methods and adapt. The quantum network is being stretched thin trying to maintain multiple barriers simultaneously." The tactical display showed dozens of active breach points, each one pulsing with dark energy. But something was different about these new tiers in reality. They weren't random anymore. They'd formed a pattern. A mechanid analyst was the first to recognize it. The breach points, they're creating a resonance pattern. The Void Dreamers aren't just attacking random locations. They're building something. Interface 7's form suddenly tensed. No, they wouldn't. The quantum being rushed to the central display, its form leaving trails of probability in its wake. Display all breach points in 4-dimensional spacetime. The hologram shifted, showing how the tiers in reality connected not just through space, but through time itself. The pattern became clear, a vast, multi-dimensional web that was slowly encircling the galaxy. "It's a cage," Zilith whispered, her scales paling. "They're not trying to break in anymore. They're trying to seal us off from the rest of the universe." Worse, Interface 7's voice carried the weight of terrible understanding. "They're creating a quantum resonance field. If they complete the pattern, they won't need to break through our barriers. They'll be able to change the fundamental constants of our region of space. They'll remake our reality to match their own." The chamber erupted in panic as the implications became clear. Everything they had fought for, everything they had built, would be transformed into something utterly alien and hostile to life as they knew it. But amid the chaos, a quantum collective representative suddenly pulsed with inspiration. Wait. The resonance pattern. It works both ways. If they can use it to change our reality, we could use it to change theirs. Interface 7 finished, its form brightening with possibility. But it would require unprecedented coordination. We would need to synchronize every quantum barrier, every defense point, every conscious mind in the galaxy. Zilith stepped forward. Then that's what we'll do. We've proven we can work together. Now we'll show them just how far we can push that unity. The plan came together quickly. Every ship, every station, every quantum-enhanced being in the galaxy would need to connect with humanity's network simultaneously. They would use the Void Dreamer's own resonance pattern against them, creating a feedback loop that would ripple through all dimensions of reality. There's a cost, Interface 7 warned, its form fluctuating with emotion. This level of quantum synchronization, it will change everything. All of us, every species, every consciousness that participates, will be transformed, just as humanity was 3,000 years ago. Zilith looked around the chamber at the representatives of 1,000 worlds. Then we'll face that transformation together. Humanity chose to ascend alone to protect us. This time, we all make the choice together. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. Ships moved into position around each breach point. Quantum enhancers were distributed to every participating being. The assembly chamber became a nexus of communication as the plan was coordinated across the galaxy. When the moment came, it began with a single signal, a pulse through humanity's quantum network that connected every mind, every soul, every particle of consciousness in the galaxy. Zilith felt it first as a whisper, then as a roar. She could sense every being connected to the network. The precise logic of the mechanids, the shared consciousness of the hivemans, the temporal awareness of the quantum collectives, all flowing together with humanity's protective embrace into something entirely new. The Void Dreamers sensed the change and fought back. Reality buckled and warped as they tried to complete their resonance pattern. Tiers in space-time widened as they pushed through with desperate force. But this time, they faced something unprecedented. Not just humanity's quantum network, but the combined consciousness of an entire galaxy, each mind contributing its unique understanding of reality to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Interface 7's voice echoed through the collective consciousness. Now, every quantum barrier, every defense point, every connected mind pulsed with unified purpose. The resonance pattern the Void Dreamers had created became a conduit for something they never expected. The concentrated will of an entire galaxy choosing to evolve together. Reality itself sang as dimensions collapsed and reformed. Zilith felt her consciousness expanding, connecting with others in ways she had never imagined possible. She could sense the same transformation happening everywhere as the species of the galaxy ascended together. The Void Dreamers reeled back as their own weapon was turned against them. The feedback loop rippled through their dimension, changing them just as they had intended to change our reality. But instead of corruption and destruction, they faced the combined creative force of billions of minds working in harmony. When it was over, the galaxy had changed forever. The barriers between species, between minds, between different ways of perceiving reality had dissolved. Humanity's quantum network had become something far greater, a unified field of consciousness that preserved individuality while allowing for perfect understanding and cooperation. The empty seat in the assembly chamber transformed one final time, becoming a symbol not of humanity's solitary vigil, but of the galaxy's unified ascension. Interface 7's form appeared one last time, but now it was simply one voice among many in the vast collective consciousness. 3,000 years ago, humanity chose to become reality's guardians. Today, we all choose to become reality's custodians, not through force or fear, but through unity and understanding. Zilith, her consciousness now part of the greater whole, while still maintaining her individual perspective, gazed out at the transformed galaxy. The Void Dreamers hadn't been destroyed. They had been changed, incorporated into the new understanding of reality that the galaxy's species had created together. The empty seat had never really been empty. It had been waiting for the moment when all of civilization would be ready to fill it together.